Okay, ready?
Should I leave the
Yep.
glasses on or off?
I feel like off. What do you think?
Yeah. With them on or off? Off?
In my opinion, off. But you listen to
Okay.
yourself, whatever you want. I would love to
No,
see
I'm
your
good. I
eyes.
got it.
Hello, Dylan, and welcome from Red Carpets to Real Talk. I'm incredibly happy that we are here for real, raw, authentic conversation. Dylan, personally, I can relate to your story, and I sincerely hope that it will speak to other people. Before we start, before we go deeper, I want us to start with the Blitz questions. Do you know what Blitz questions are?
I think I just got to give fast responses, right?
Exactly. Yes. You don't overthink super fast. We don't overthink it. Yes. Let's do it. Studio nights or tour life?
Uh, Both.
Okay. Biggest musical influence?
Mayor Hawthorne.
Okay. One lyric you've written that still hits you hard?
That I've written when everything's
Yeah.
falling apart. When everything's falling apart, maybe it's falling into place.
Oof, I love that. Wow.
It's in my song "Vulnerable." It's one of the songs I released not too long ago, where I say, "When things fall apart, maybe they falling into place."
Okay, if you want, we can talk about this song because it's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you today about this latest single. What part of
Okay.
your soul does it come from?
Uh,
This song.
the song comes from the inspiration behind the song was when my wife and we went to Laguna Beach for our anniversary, and
Mm-hmm.
and I used to live in Laguna after I graduated college. And, I mean, marriage is marriage is work every day. You have to put in the work if you want your marriage to work. And
Tell me about
I,
it. Yes.
I believe when being vulnerable is the most empowering thing because you're kind of just anything. I mean, anything, if you put it in perspective, anything can be vulnerable. Like you doing your job on the red carpet, you're vulnerable to uh to people bad talking you, to people liking you're basically just putting yourself out there. And I think being vulnerable is very important in a relationship where we put our mask down and we're really being our true self. And what's
Yeah.
vulnerable about it is because we're being our true self. And I believe when you have a relationship and you fall in love, it should be your true self, not who you think you should be or what your partner thinks you should be. You should be your most genuine self. And that way, so your partner either loves you or rejects you for just being your genuine self. And I think a lot of with marriage and everything that goes in, maybe just the culture, maybe California, but I see people putting all this money on big weddings and then they're divorced 5 years later. And
Yes.
I believe when you take your vows for better and for worse, you can't forget for worse.
Yes. You know, Dylan, one of the reasons, if you gave my example, like one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, like full interviews, like from red carpets to real talk, is because I love being vulnerable and I love when my guests are vulnerable. When I do the interviews on the red carpet, it's the time when I'm wearing my mask, and it's the time when the people I interview, they are wearing their mask. It's like this first date, you go to.
Yeah.
You're like wearing the best possible outfit, doing like perfect hair and makeup, and you try to impress him. Like, what for? Because like at the end you will show like the real you, and then you eventually you will be vulnerable. But yes, that's what we have in our culture, like in our society. We don't show our like authentic selves from the very, very beginning. So when you are saying about like referring to my red carpet and the interviews, and acting is very vulnerable for me, but red carpets, I wouldn't say that it's super vulnerable. I feel like I'm wearing a mask, my mask. They're the people I interview, they're wearing their mask. And now I'm incredibly grateful to you that we put the masks off. So if you decided to
Yeah.
speak about your marriage and the single vulnerable, how long have you been married?
Uh, 7 years. It's going to be 8 years this
7 years.
year. Yeah.
Nice. I'm married for 9. It will be 9 this month on June 16th. So yes, I can relate to what you are saying. But let's come back to your single vulnerable. You are sitting in the on the beach in Laguna Beach, and then what? What did you feel like? Where did it come from, this
Um,
song? Help
well,
me to understand.
so some of these producers that I work with that make the music that I write music to,
Mm-hmm.
I follow a bunch of them on YouTube, so I'll get notifications every time they put up, new instrumentals that they're selling. And the song that I liked, uh, it was like buy one get one free. So the song that I liked and I was writing to, I bought Vulnerable as the second one that was for free. And the more I kept listening to the instrumental of Vulnerable, I stopped working on the song that I was working on because I just felt like Vulnerable was just coming to me. So I stopped what I was doing and I opened up Vulnerable in the studio and started working on that track. And the music kind of brought the lyrics out of me. Like when the way the music and it starts real slow and romantic and you have the piano. And then so when the music drops, usually like I'll have the song in the studio and I'll start seeing what ideas come up out of nowhere. I'm not sitting there with a pen and pencil, just in the moment what's coming. And the very first line came to me so simple. I don't want to show weakness, even though I'm vulnerable. My vulnerabilities got me tripping. And that just came out, just
Mm-hmm.
not thought about, just came from source. Like I channeled these words and I said, oh my God. And I started visualizing our trip in Laguna Beach. And I thought, this has got to be a song about my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started writing. A marriage is tough. I mean, sometimes you're really good. Sometimes, it's a commitment. And I felt like as if I made this song, it would make my commitment even stronger. And not only that, but express and be vulnerable how I feel in my marriage and in my relationship. Like, I mean, there's been times in my marriage where, I mean, we were rolling penny rolls, so we'd have
Mm-hmm.
money. There was times when we've been up and times when we've been down, and um, we always stuck together, my wife, regardless. She didn't leave me like, oh, my wife's from Argentina too. My wife's a resident of the United States. So she could have just up and left me and said, I didn't come to the United States to struggle. I came here to prosper. But my wife stuck with me all the time. And my wife, part of the reason why my wife fell in love with me is because of a song that she heard of mine. And, it's
Which
not
one?
often that you get that kind of, it was a song called Life of an Underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot a music video, and there's this clip in the music video. It's a really serious song, but there's a clip in the music video where they catch me smiling and laughing. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife said when I saw that part in the video, I fell in love with you. Like that was like you were just showing your genuine self. And like you said, we're wearing these masks in our relationship and when we're outside, when we're at work. And, it's really good. And I think that's how marriage should be, that you should be able to take the mask off and your partner love you for who you are and not what you do.
Yes, because what is marriage? Marriage, in my opinion, is the decision that both partners make to be together. Like, no matter for you made this decision. It's not about that if I am
Yeah.
marrying you to mean that you will make my life better or more prosperous. What? No. We make the
Yeah.
decision that we go together, and it means that our life values align. So suffering or like being like in prosperity, da 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 da. It's like it depends on both of us. It's not that you will make my life better or I will make your life better. No, we will make our lives better together. That's my opinion. And how do you see marriage?
I love that. I love
You
that.
do.
I love
Thank you.
exactly what you said. I love
Yeah.
exactly what you said. A lot of people have this mentality that, you get married and your partner's supposed to make your life better. What about when your partner's having a bad day? You know,
Exactly.
like
Yes.
we have this selfish mentality that that we're supposed to make each other better. And my wife does make me better in ways, but it's my decision to be better. You know,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
my
Yes. It's
decision.
very
You know,
yes. We can be inspired, but the final decision belongs only to us. But when people are trying to
yes.
change us, that's a red flag. Anyways, now we will talk about the relationships. It's gonna be like the real relationships talk, now. Anyways,
But
and how did your
a
boyfriend
big
where we at? Uh,
but I just want to say congratulations to you for
on
still being
what?
married,
Oh,
for still
yes.
putting in the
And
work, for still putting in the work.
exactly. Yes, it's a work. And again, it's my decision because one day I chose that man and it's my decision, my responsibility. It's easier like to break down the things. You know what I mean? I can like do something to
Yeah.
my laptop right now and what? I have a choice. I will throw it away or I will go and get the new one. I'm a European girl and maybe that is why one of the reasons why I like to fix the things. I don't just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's my mentality, culture, maybe my life values. And yeah, so congratulations to you as well. It's a long time. And yes, it's a commitment and it is um, the decision at the end of the day. Anyways, and how did
It's a
your wife
decision.
react to your songs, this vulnerable song? What was her reaction?
Um, well, I released it on her birthday.
Oh, that's so amazing to look at you.
So, this song, I had told her when I had, my wife speaks English and Spanish, but I
Mhm.
believe when you convey something in Spanish, you can express yourself even more than you can in English.
Mm,
And when I translated the words in Spanish for her, I mean, she was like, "Oh my God, that's us. Like
mhm.
you're talking about us." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm not talking about us in a bad way. I'm talking about us sticking together, like, and getting through trials and still, like I say this right, we still got a roof over our head, and there's times when finances aren't always perfect, but we always manage a way to get through. And I wanted to release it on my wife's birthday. It was if God was talking to me, like making that song, making the music video, like it was a gift to her. And she said, I said, this, and for her, I said, this song, this video, everything that I did for this was for you. And to
Yeah.
me, it's really personal and it really means a lot because I've poured my soul into this song. And I'm an artist and we're all a little crazy. We all want our art to be appreciated. Um, but this one my wife really appreciated because she understood the substance, she understood the meaning, she understood everything that I put into it. And that song literally opened up a door for me going into another genre that I'm able to do R&B and soul music and not just funk music. And I'm learning how to sing better every song, and I've gotten so many compliments on that song. That song got playlisted by Apple Music on their most popular playlist. It was right next to Jelly Roll.
Well,
That was the first song that I've had that actually blew up my numbers on Apple.
mhm.
It did really good in the UK, and I'm learning because I like to be more focused on international and not just the United States. Um,
Mhm.
that song did really good in the UK, but the UK is an R&B and soul type of genre that they like in that
Yeah.
country. You got like France. France loves funk music. You got and the numbers are doing good in Spain. Like it just opened so many doors, that I'm just really grateful that I was able to create that song, and not just because of the doors that opened, and not just because it showed that I can sing, but that I'm vulnerable enough to put something out about my marriage and my relationship for everyone to judge, whether they like it or not.
Dylan, it is not a therapy session. And all I'm trying to like say that like from my perspective, like from hearing you now, I can hear that this song is doing so well because it was coming from the super authentic self where you didn't have like to push like anything, you know, like, oh, I have to write a script for a movie, or like, oh, I have to invite the guests to my show. Like when it's coming like from the authentic place where you just want, for example, in my case, just to have a conversation with another beautiful human being and to see how it souls are dancing together and what will be the outcome, someone will benefit or no, it's like doesn't matter. The key is that I'm having like fun and enjoying this conversation right now. Does it make sense? So from your perspective, why do you think this song like went, let's say, viral? Why people liked it so much? Why did it
Because it's
resonate
honest.
to so many of you? Exactly. Yes, it's honest.
It's
Yes.
honest.
Mhm.
People in relationships can relate to that. I like people that have been, people that are really putting work into their relationships can relate to it. Like it's a song that I
Mhm.
wanted to convey that, like, I may be on the cover of a magazine, or I've done this show, but it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't really fill my ego. It's just, I try to keep my ego out of it. I think with social media, see, you got to understand, I started doing music professionally in 2009, and social media was barely. I mean, when I
You.
started doing music, there was MySpace. Facebook didn't even exist yet, and
Mhm.
Instagram didn't exist. So it still came down to the music. It came down to if you really made good music. It wasn't about looking cool on social media. Now it's like you got to create content, you got to push your photos, you got to post your videos, and it
Yeah.
takes away from the the pureness of music, because a lot of people aren't doing music because they want to convey a message, or they love music, or they just have it in them. They want to do it because, I mean, they want a million likes on Instagram, or they want to look cool. And it turned the music from, how great of a record do you have, to how many followers do you have.
Yes.
It
Yes.
became, it
And,
came, it switched from the genuine music to how many likes do you have? How many followers do you have? And
yeah. But if people are
to
doing
me,
it for their Dylan, if people are doing it for their own ego and for their own good, whatever is good to them, like having millions of followers or likes or admiration, blah blah blah. In my opinion, like they are planting bad seeds, and those bad seeds you cannot like expect like great results from the like bad seeds because at the end I do believe in justice and I do believe in the happy end that you cannot like fool people. You know what I mean? Like just claiming that, oh, this music is for you and no. But at the end of the day, like you can sense and you can feel when people are doing it for their own good, meaning like, hey, look at me, look at me. I wasn't so loved in the childhood and now I want your love. You know what I mean? Like something like that, or like they're feeding their egos. Anyways, and for you, Dylan, as far as I know, like by reading your story, I know that music basically like saved your life or like healed your soul because your life wasn't that easy. And in my opinion, you were extremely vulnerable in your lyrics, and you were you're so vulnerable.
you know, um, to me, music was the only thing that I ever felt like I was good at, but it took work to get good at. And I mean, I went to University of UC Irvine. I studied criminology. The plan was to go to law school. In high school, I was supposed to go to the military academy, but I didn't score high enough on my SAT. I had no backup plan. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life because I thought I was going to go and be an officer in the military. And
Yes.
that's what I started in my sophomore year of high school. It was a whole 3 year process to get accepted to the military academy to West Point, and I got actually accepted to the Air Force Academy too. But I couldn't score 1,000 on my SAT, and I took the SAT like 9 times. The last time I took it, it was a 990, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go to the military. I didn't go. All my plans like all fell through at the last
Fast.
minute. I find myself at junior college. I was a college athlete. I was playing baseball at the junior college. And then when I hurt my shoulder, I was like, you know what? I don't want to play baseball anymore. I want to go surfing. I want to keep surfing. I can't surf because of this injury. I end up transferring as a sophomore to go to UC Irvine. So I chose Irvine because it's in Orange County. The beach is right there, so I could still continue surfing. And when I was going to school, it was a big culture shock. Meeting people from so many different backgrounds, ethnicities, people from all over the different world, other cultures, other religions, which I had not really been exposed to in my hometown of Oxnard. Um, I felt like I had to try to fit in college. Like I was always kind of a loner. I pledged a fraternity. I had a girlfriend in college when I first started, and then when I realized that the fraternity, the Greek route, wasn't what I wanted to do, my girlfriend dumped me right after that because I wasn't the cool guy in the fraternity anymore. And I bought a guitar. I bought a guitar on New Year's Eve going into the year 2001. And I bought that guitar because I just wanted to write songs about being heartbroken. And it wasn't about trying to be a rock star. It wasn't about my friends did it. My friends did it. So I supported my friends' bands and I just wanted to buy a guitar so I could see if I could write music. And
Yeah.
I never gave up. Every time when I wasn't studying or wasn't working, I was in my dorm room trying to teach myself how to play guitar. And then once I learned how to play one song, I was like, oh my God, let's try to learn this other song. And I was like, hey, maybe I could start just experimenting and writing my own songs. And I always had my own, my music was just different. And
Mhm.
I like that because I wasn't trying to, I mean, we're talking about the
Impress this
early
girlfriend.
2000s. I was, yeah, I wasn't just doing it to try to be a rock star. I just really wanted to write songs for myself. And it
Yes.
wasn't that I'm buying this guitar and I'm going to be famous. It was like
Yes,
buying that
I'm buying that
guitar.
guitar and I'm gonna impress that ex-girlfriend so we can get back together. Da da da. No,
Yeah,
that's good.
write songs about being heartbroken. And, you know, that ended up changing the trajectory of my entire life because I went to Oahu my senior year of college to go surf North Shore. And of course, I brought that guitar with me. And I was always that guy. There was like a crew of us from California that surfed and we traveled together. And I was always the guy playing the acoustic guitar. And it
Mm.
just felt like surfing, guitar, girls, it goes, especially when you're on the North Shore of Oahu, it goes hand in hand. And I would have never thought that buying that guitar would have changed my life like it did, that I'd be having conversations like this, 25 years later that, hey, I mean, this guitar changed everything. And I tried to explain it to my dad. I said, Dad, college didn't go to waste. Like, yeah, you go to college, you get your degree, but mainly your job in college is to learn how to survive, learn how to take care of
Mhm.
yourself, learn how to feed yourself. You don't have your mom and dad there anymore. Some students were lucky enough, they got a card where they could go to the cafeteria, but I didn't have that. I mean, I came from a middle class family, so I had to work when I was going to college. So I didn't have all these luxuries that a lot of these other students did. And it was about work and getting college done and getting that degree, being the first one in my family to graduate college. But I played guitar while I was doing it. And sure enough, playing that guitar opened up more opportunities than I ever thought would. And I think because I taught myself how to play guitar, I didn't have no specific style, no classical training, no guitar teacher, just experimenting and figuring out how to play the guitar. It made my music so different. And I mean, man, that guitar got me a record deal in 2009. That guitar got me on
Exactly.
many
That's what I just
stages.
wanted to ask. Like, thank you so much, by the way, Dylan, for bringing us to the beginning of the beginning, to the beginning of
Yeah,
your journey from 25 years ago. So, yes, how this guitar, you're saying that this guitar gave me the opportunities. Yes, but the opportunities come to those who are proactive. So, I do believe that you did something
yeah,
in order to receive those opportunities. Does it make sense?
it does.
So,
A
how did it
hundred
happen?
percent, 100%.
Yes, because it always starts with a choice. In your case, it was the choice of buying this guitar. You did it for your for your soul, for your fulfillment, for I don't know, you wanted it as a hobby or to learn a new skill. But then eventually, look at you now, 25 years later.
Yeah. I
Yes.
know. It's so
What happened? Like,
It's
what was? Do you remember that
um
moment when you were like, "Huh, I don't know, how do I turn this like hobby into my career?" Like, do you remember that moment?
it was 2009. I was living in Newport Beach. I had just recorded my first song that was an acoustic with my friends, and we made a song at my friend's studio. And when we made that song, that was like, oh my God, I can make music like this. Like, this is what we could do. And
Uh-huh.
a guy by the name of Drew found the song on MySpace, and he was in Orange County too. And he reached out to me on MySpace, said, hey, really like your song. I can probably get you some shows. And,
Mm.
but so I call my friend Richard that we recorded at his place in San Diego. I call the other guy, Pat, and I say, hey, dude, that song we recorded, it just got us a couple shows. Like, they're saying we can get some shows. And we did it. They said, let's do a show. And we did a show. It was in Huntington Beach at the Blue Note Cafe. And I sold tickets. I had friends come from San Diego. People came from Oxnard. People came from all over. It was like, man, he's really got a real show. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was this moment we were playing this one song, and we started jamming out in the middle of the song, like just being spontaneous and
Okay.
improvising. And I remember playing my guitar on stage, and I was just so locked in, and I'm rocking out. I'm playing my acoustic guitar, and in that moment, I was like, "This was what we always. This is what we wanted. This is like this is."
Yes.
Wow, I think I can do this. Like, this isn't me
Yes.
playing acoustic at the brewery or at no little open mic. This is me in front of on a stage, in front of a crowd. And I just remember one moment when I was playing a guitar and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is
Yes.
what I'm supposed to be doing on stage, performing. And the band broke up, but we had earned studio time. We placed third at the Warped Tour Battle of the Bands in Fullerton, and we got 2 hours of studio time. Our band broke up the night before we were supposed to go to the studio, and I show up to the studio by myself. This song that we were going to record was supposed to be on a CD that they were going to be handing out at the Warped Tour. So the studio's kind of confused, like, wait, where's your band? I'm like, band broke up. It's just me. And so band breaks up. I go to the studio the very next day by myself. They mic'd me up, and I recorded like 6 songs with my studio time, just acoustic guitar and me singing. I leave, I take my little demo, I go home, and I get a phone call later on that day from the owner of the recording studio saying, hey, we thought you were coming with the band. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, we broke up, but it was just me. And he's like, well, we needed the band for the CD, but who the hell are you? I've never heard of you. And everyone's been talking about you since you left the studio, that some guy came in here, nobody knew who he was. He killed it in real quick in a session, and he just left, took a CD and left. And
Yeah.
I introduced myself. I said, yeah, I've been living here, for about, 6 months. I've been playing guitar. It was the first time I played with the band, and I'm on my own. And, uh, he's like, well, keep in touch. Make sure you stay in touch. And if there's a studio that you ever need, give us a call. And that same guy, Drew, that discovered my music on MySpace, he was kind of connected. It was like a scene. It was like a scene of people in Orange County. And he says, hey, there's a guy by the name of Ronnie King that's working out of the recording studio that you recorded at. You should look him up. I think you guys would work well together. So here I am Googling Ronnie King's name, trying to figure out who this guy is. All I knew, he was a famous producer. And so I called the studio. I set up a meeting. And as on my way to my meeting to go meet this producer, I'm listening to a song by Tupac from the
Mhm.
90s with John B called Are You Still Down? Baby, are you still down? You still down for me, baby? Are you still down? So I'm listening to this on a cassette tape
Mm-hmm.
because my dog had this is when we had the little MP3 players that you used to plug in your phone with the
Oh,
cable
okay.
with
Uh-huh.
yeah. And so I'm listening to it on a cassette. I show up to the studio. I walk in the door of the studio, and right on the wall in that studio was Ronnie King's multi-platinum plaque for that song, Are You Still Down? So
Ooh.
I am listening to this guy's music, not knowing, on my way to meet
Yes.
him. And that was another moment where God was saying, hey, like, pay attention to
Yes.
what I'm doing. Pay attention.
Exactly. Exactly.
I meet Ronnie. I'm like ecstatic. Like, dude, you don't understand, man. I was just listening to that song right now that your plaque is like, what's going on? Like, are you Ronnie? Like, what's going on? And he was like, dude, nobody listens to music from the 90s anymore, man. And I brought him to my truck. I played this cassette tape, and he was just as in shock as I was. Like, wait a minute. Who are you? Where are you from? Like, this is really weird right now. My friends say it was just fate. It was fate that I was supposed to meet him. And
Yes.
we hit it off really good. We talked about working in the studio together, and we booked a recording session. I recorded with Ronnie King the very next day. The record label called me to offer me a record label. The studio had their own record label. They called me the very next day we were done that they wanted to sign me to a distribution deal. Now,
Yeah.
at this time, it was just iTunes and Amazon. There was no Spotify, didn't exist yet, and everyone had iPods. iPods are a little MP3 player, and signed that record deal. We ended up cutting a total of 6 songs. But when it was time to release the project, there was no business plan behind it.
Mm.
There was just, we're going to book you some shows and see how it goes. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm giving you guys 50% just to book me shows. Like, I'm booking shows on my own already. This doesn't make sense. What's the plan? And nobody had a plan. So I said, let me out of my contract. And they let
Mm.
me out. Well, it was a process getting out of my contract, a lot of threats, a lot of this, a lot of that. And eventually they let me go, and I released everything as an independent artist afterwards. And that was my first go around with the record label, kind of getting an understanding of how the business works, whether or not, about business plans and marketing. And I said, well, they weren't really doing anything for me that I was going to do on my own. Why do I need a record label?
Yes.
And I've been
Dylan, can
independent
I
ever
interrupt
since.
you for 1 second? Because based on your story, I can see two very interesting segments. The first one, you mentioned the fate. Yes. And I want to do some like kind of a sum up for people because based on your example and your experience, we can see that you have to pay attention to the signs and it is like a God's plan, and you have like to be open to receive those signs because all of us have the same opportunities in life. All of us are going like living this life under the same like sky and sun, etc., stars, sun, moon, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. The matter of fact is like, do we pay attention? And in my opinion, like based on your story and stories as well, when everything like aligns, you see, you were listening to the song, then you enter the studio, and in my opinion, it's like the confirmation of you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Like there is no
Amen.
accidents in life. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do believe that when something like that happens, it means that you are aligned as well with the God. Because I do believe that we are brought to this planet Earth with a certain mission in life. That's my personal belief. And when everything clicks, like you are telling us this story, it means that, oh God, I found it. Like you gave it to me, I found it, and like you see what my body language does? Like this unity, like I'm
Yeah.
here, yes, I'm ready to serve you, whatever it is. In my case, it's like sharing the stories and hopefully inspiring people. In your case, it's
Yeah.
uh, like your music, yes. So that's the first sum up that I've made. And I am sorry one more time for interrupting you because what you are sharing with us, like,
It's okay.
is very inspiring and it's valuable, and I want to like people like to do the sum ups as well. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah.
Do you want to add to what I
No, it's
said, or do you
okay.
want to confirm? Like, do you believe
Well,
in the
what
same?
was I believe in the same thing. I believe in synchronicity. I believe when you're vibrating high that God's going to connect you with the right people that you need, or it's just going to happen. Like, but you got to be paying attention, you know?
Yes,
But I think when you're vibrating that high and you're that open and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I think as long as you pay attention, everything will fall into place. You just got to pay attention because there's
exactly.
opportunities. We're all given, like you said, we're all put on this earth, the same
Yes,
sun, same moon, same
yes,
opportunities. It's
yes.
just some people don't act on them.
Yes, some people are playing victims like, hey, I wasn't born like with a silver spoon in my mouth, etc., etc. But yeah, but then what? Then what? You are also like a human who had the same access, maybe not the same access to the education, etc., etc. But hey, you can do your 100% in your best
Yeah,
to to lead your mission, to find it, and then to live it, and to share with people whatever it is. And the second thing that I liked about what you said is like being an independent artist or working with someone with a label. So let's
yeah,
go from there. Like, what would you recommend to people who aspire to have the career as yours of in the very beginning? Because even like in my business, like right, like commercial modeling or like acting or interviewing people, some people like are saying you have to have an agent, and some people are doing it on their own. You know, like me.
yeah.
So I can relate again to what you are saying, but let's dive deeper.
It, to me, like after having, I've had like a lot of like bad situations with people not promising what they were getting paid for or not doing their
Mhm.
job. And it really made me one tough person. I think a lot of people, some people might be afraid to work with me because I ask so many questions, and
Mm.
they don't like. I heard
What
of
is bad about
artists
asking
ain't
many questions?
well in the music business. Apparently, they don't want you to know what they're doing and what they're stealing and what they're taking and what your contract is, and they don't like that. I even saw someone post that he was an A&R from a record label, but the moment you start asking too many questions, it turns off the record label because they're like, oh yeah, we might not be able to screw this guy over, this woman over as much as we thought because they actually know what they're doing.
Mm.
And I think, back when I did it, it was a big deal. The goal was to get signed to a record label because there
Yeah,
were still big studios back then. There wasn't so much access to all the equipment and technology where you could do everything at home. And, when social media came into the mix, it gave people like false expectations that, oh, it made it seem like as if you could just be famous overnight when it's like, no, dude, like these people that are famous overnight have literally been working at this for 15 years.
oh,
And
exactly.
it gives people this false sense that, what you see on social media, that you could just, I don't know, it wasn't like that when I started. Like, you had to actually be a musician. You actually had to know how to sing. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that just see what you see on social media and they take it out of context. Like, it's not just you make a song and you're going to be famous. It's
yeah,
like, and I see this with people, they'll work so hard, they'll put out a music video, but then once the music video comes out, you don't see them post nothing for 2 weeks. And it's like they were just expecting that just because they released something, it was just supposed to explode and go viral. When it's like you got to work and market and invest in your projects, and it's not as easy as people think it is. And
no, it
when
is
your
not.
heart and soul, when you're more focused on how you look on social media, you're going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many acts and artists come and go throughout my career that now it's just those are a dime a dozen. Like, because they're not willing to go that extra mile and work as hard as they really need to, because we have this false sense of popularity and success from what we see on social media. And it really changed things from not just being a great artist, but you got to put out content, you got to post, you got to go live. There's so many more things that go into your career now that if you don't evolve, you're going to fall out of place. Like there's, oh, I refuse to do TikTok. Well, you know what? There's so many people on TikTok just waiting to see your stuff. Or I only post on Facebook. Well, you're missing out on Instagram, and you're like, for me, I'm posting on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Facebook groups, TikTok, like, and your content you're posting is not necessarily, maybe it does good on YouTube, but it doesn't do good on Instagram. Or maybe it does good on Instagram, but it doesn't do good on TikTok.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. And
Yeah.
I had to get over that hump. Well, okay, now it's going to take an extra 5 to 10 minutes to post on all of the platforms, but at least it's on all of them and not just on one. And you got to realize, like, it's such a big world out there that you could have somebody listening to your song in the Philippines, or you can have somebody listening to your music in Brazil or in France.
Yes.
And where I came from, everyone wanted to be the most popular guy in our hometown. It's like, forget our hometown. It's a big world. I want to be the most popular guy in the world, not just in my hometown. And maybe I just had a lot less fear going into this, knowing that people were going to ridicule me. People were going to make fun of me. People weren't going to like my music. People weren't going to like me. But I still did it anyways, because it wasn't about some outside gratification. It was just gratification internally, knowing that I went up and I stepped outside of my comfort zone.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And you know what? I like what you are saying about the work. And I totally agree with you that, yes, in order for us to achieve the success, we need to work and we need to be proactive. But in my opinion, what else we need is like being our authentic self and showing to people, like all of us, the good and bad. And what I like about you, Dylan, I know that you've been open and about battling bipolar disorder. And I love that you shared it publicly. What gave you the courage to share it publicly?
Man, well, when I first started having it, around that time when I signed the record deal was when my mental health was at its worst. I had been battling probably ever since I was 22, 23 years old, having these I was having these mental episodes, but I didn't know what they were. Like, and they were really scary, like really like as if somebody was going to kill me, like paranoia times 10, where it's like the if it was like these, I would get these really like I was going to die. I was having these moments where not a panic attack, but all inside mentally that somebody was going to kill me, and it was bipolar. But when it finally got out of control, you know, when I'm 28 years old after living like this for 5 years, you know, maybe some of those songs that we did in the studio that when I was on that label, maybe they wouldn't have came if I was in the right mind. My mind was just in another dimension, I guess you would say, in another reality, in another version of reality. And it wasn't until, you know, when that all happened, I felt really embarrassed. I felt I ended up getting hospitalized right when everything's exploding in my music career, and I wasn't doing good. I wasn't doing good mentally. I didn't even know it was a mental health problem. I just didn't know what was wrong with me. And then when I got hospitalized and I was medicated, everything was normal again. And it was like, oh my God, it was one of these episodes that I was dealing with my whole 20s that never went away. And wow, something was really wrong. I wasn't just all in my head, like something was really wrong. And it's going to take medication to fix it. You know, that when I realized it was one of those episodes and everything that I saw and heard and all this crazy psychosis that I went through, it was like, oh man, it was those episodes. It was just me freaking out. None of it was real. It was all in my head. I ended up performing at the House of Blues in Anaheim at downtown Disney. Like, I got out of the hospital on Friday. I performed on Sunday at the House of Blues. What the problem was, when I had my follow-up appointment and my outpatient appointment, my first psychiatrist that I'm going to see outside of the hospital, he took me off medication because for some reason, my parents thought it was drugs. It wasn't drugs, but the hospital had the intention, even though I didn't test it, they just assumed it was a drug-induced psychosis. So the doctor's asking me questions. Yeah, I feel better. Yeah, I'm doing good, but I was doing good because I was on the medication. He decided to take me off medication. I'm more whacked out in 4 days than I was prior. I go back to my doctor, and he's like, oh, maybe there is a problem. And instead of giving me the medication that worked in the hospital that stabilized me, he wanted to try something different, right? Like a lot of psychiatrists. Oh, even though this works for you, let's try something different. It didn't work. I was still paranoid. It made me put on about 60 pounds of, I went from 160 to 220 pounds within a span of less than 4 months. And this was all brand new to me. I'd never put on that much weight. I'm not doing good. Every time I see my doctor, he's telling me, well, maybe go out in public. I'm like, well, I'm paranoid as hell. Why do I want to go out in public? Oh, maybe get a job. Maybe you need to do this. It wasn't about a matter of changing the medication. It was do this. And it's like, how can you work doing telemarketing when you're hearing voices and you're trying to talk on the phone doing telemarketing? It was really low quality of care. And it wasn't until the county of Orange County shut down that office and I got transferred to a new facility, a new doctor. And it was a complete 180 experience. It was like, I told them this is what stabilized me in the hospital. This is what I need. I'm not doing good. And that began the journey of getting down from 220 pounds back to a regular weight. Began the journey of trying to figure out how to navigate life after going through all that trauma that I experienced when I wasn't doing good, like trying to convince myself that it wasn't real. Now, when I was properly medicated, I was able to convince myself right out of the hospital and perform, and all that was an episode. But when it's lingering and lingering and lingering, it's like it really, I'll tell you this, though, I had the lowest point of my life at this time. I'm 220 pounds. I wasn't playing guitar. I'm scared I'm looking out my window thinking there's conspiracies and paranoia. There's all this stuff going on. All I wanted to do was look forward to when a King of Queens would come on that TV show. Like that turned into my life, just watching sitcoms on TV. And like, I had this moment like, wait a minute, God, how did this happen? Like, I went from doing really good mentally, spiritually, getting into this music, playing my music, all this mental health stuff comes to its head. Now I'm 220 pounds sitting on the couch thinking like, wow, God, like, was this my karma? Was this for the things that I did in my past? Not saying I did really bad things, but I'm trying to figure this out. Like, why did this happen to me? And that low point was like, is what I always think back to. Like, remember when you were on that couch?
Yes.
And you really felt like you gave up? Like, this is what happened to my life? Look at now. And when I asked God about it, I'm like, God, why? Like, I was doing so good in life. I had a good job. I'm doing all these good things. Like, why? And God's answer, I needed you to have a better story to tell.
I love that.
And instead of like feeling like a victim, it's like, no, this is my testimony. This is like, this shaped me. And if I wouldn't have gone through all that stuff, I wouldn't be as strong as I am today now. Like, that stuff really, and then when at first they diagnosed me as schizophrenic. And like I said, I got this record deal. Everyone from my hometown's rooting for me. And then I turned off social media. I got off because I wasn't doing good. I was really embarrassed. I was ashamed that this happened to me. And that sucks because you can't control what's going on.
Mhm.
And, you know, back then, it wasn't even about mental health. Back then, it was called mental illness. And this is the late 2000s, early 2010s. And it wasn't as spoken about as it is now. It was still a stigma
Oh
attached to
yeah,
it. So that when I
it was
finally
like it's
decided, you know
important.
what?
Yeah.
I'm going to post on Facebook, like, and share that I was going through this stuff. And I posted, they're diagnosing me that I am schizophrenic. Now, what hurt me the most was that, and this is back before mental health was really talked about like it is now, so many people unfriended me on Facebook. Like, as if, like, wait a minute,
Like
like,
something is
dang,
wrong
like,
with you, like you are not that Dylan anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah, like, as
That's
if,
something.
oh, this guy
I
has
see.
problems, or it's like, you know, and that really hurt me because I'm like, wow, like, but then, you know, it made me stronger. Like when I put out music, not everyone's gonna like it, but it made me stronger. Like, you know, when you do marketing, you're open to getting heckled. When you're
Mm-hmm.
marketing and you're running a sponsored ad,
Mm-hmm.
it gets to the point where that stuff doesn't phase you. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter, like, or whatever weird comments or whatever trolls or whatever. It's like, it got me to a point where that stuff doesn't faze me. Like being made fun of or being talked about. And I say, like, if you're not ready to be, if you can't handle people talking about you, you're not ready for success. And
exactly. Yes.
I really feel like it made me the man who I am today. It shaped everything. And I and it's kind of crazy to say, but I'm really grateful that I went through it all because it showed me who I am. It showed me
Mhm.
what battles I could overcome. It showed me how much strength that I have. It showed me that climbing one mountain, there's another mountain waiting for you behind it. It really gave me this, like, I don't care what certain people think about me, because there's so many, for every person that doesn't like you, there's probably 3 or 4 people that do like you. And my
Exactly.
dad told me, when he's like, if you want to do this music thing for real, you got to understand, everybody's not going to like you and everybody's not going to like your music. But if you can handle that, you'll be okay.
Yes. Wow, what a story. And you are an evident example to all of us that everything is possible. And I loved when you mentioned about those like low moments. We all of us are having those low moments in life. And I will be honest with you, I love these low moments because it is a moment when you are asking yourself, who am I here? Am I a victim? So I will continue the pity party, or I will create the pity party, or am I the winner who will use this experience for others' benefit and for my own good because I'm ready to grow and I'm ready to transform and to be another, like, I don't want to say better because you are not broken when you have low moments, but to like create yourself. I don't know, something like that. Dylan, wow, you
This
touched
was
my.
this was a this was a it took me from 2009 to 2018 to finally to advocating, filing grievances with mental health systems, like fighting for myself to get the best care that I deserve. It took me 9 years to finally get stabilized on medication again.
Yeah.
9 years of my
And
life.
I
Nine
also
years of my
know
life.
that you headlined events for mental health awareness as well.
I have. I have done
Yes.
mental health awareness events with guest speakers. Um,
Yes.
I did the first one I did was at a venue in Ventura. I gave a little speech on mental health, and I played guitar. It was a release party for a song. But the following one, this was in 2022, I partnered up with the Salvation Army, And I partnered up with the Salvation Army and did a toy drive and a mental health awareness event for them. We had guest speakers, first responders come and speak about mental health and what they've struggled with. We've had people come and speak about suicide prevention, people that have lost family members to suicide. I did that in Ventura. We ended up getting enough toys to to give to all the people that were on the waiting list that didn't get toys from the Salvation Army. So it was like a last minute thing that we did for the Salvation Army. We were able to help 65 families with children get toys that with that event. In 2023, I did another one at the Whiskey A Go Go in Hollywood, the world famous Whiskey A Go Go, the music venue. I was headlining, and I asked if I could use my evening there to speak on mental health awareness. We had about 5 guest speakers. So many people that evening. I used my night to shine, to make it shining on mental health. And I had people give me hugs, like people that showed up that night weren't expecting it. They were expecting just a concert. I
Yeah.
mean, when people come up to you, and even if it's just one person, it only takes
It's,
one, where
yes.
somebody
That's
comes
what
up to
I
me and
always.
says, "Can I give you a hug? I am so glad I came tonight, listening to these speakers and listening to you. I was at the lowest moment of my life a week ago, and listening to this gave me hope that I'm going to be okay." One person. If one person can do that, wow, we made an impact on just one person. Maybe that's one person that's not going to take their life. Maybe that's one person that's going to quit alcohol. Maybe that's one person who's going to get help for their mental health, but just one. And just knowing I got that hug and walked away like I did my job. Maybe it was
Yes.
just that one person that needed to hear us that night, and that's all God wanted was that one person. We never know. But doing that stuff is so much more fulfilling than just performing a show, because it's a different kind of vibe that I get. I feel like I'm making such a difference in people's lives, and by being
Yes.
vulnerable and putting my story out there. Part of the reason why, because I'm always vulnerable with the stuff that I'm pretty open with my fans about what's going on, and pretty open with the public that, just one person
It's more
is like,
than enough.
wow, like,
And what I can hear now that your pain led you to like serving people and making a difference and making an impact, because it started with the guitar in 2001, and it led to your like mental health issues, but this life experience served that guitar in 2001. It's like gave it more colors, more vibrations, more beauty.
yeah,
And now in all of this alignment, I feel like you are serving your mission, like like your why, like why you're writing your songs and why you like playing this guitar, like why you like singing and performing, for this hug, for this change, for this connection with people. The connection maybe that you didn't have when you did this Facebook post. What a story.
I think now at my age, I have other friends that I can confide. I have friends that I can confide in. I mean, I'm 43 now. I'm having this realization. I've been having these realizations lately, like, man, I'm not going to live my 20s anymore. That's gone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the clubs, the bars, the friends, the girls. And then in 30, my 30s, it's like my 30s are gone. Oh man, my 30s are gone. And lately it's been accepting that was all the past. And I had a great life. I got no regrets about anything, because I literally did everything I wanted to do in my life. I've gone traveling, surfing. I've done everything that I wanted to do in my life. I was able to get a college degree while I was able to accomplish all these things. And I think it's because it comes down to my why. My why.
Exactly.
My why in college was to make my family proud and to be the first Garcia with a college degree. Um, my why is there's a photo that my wife had as her profile picture back when we first connected. I connected with my wife through Twitter, believe it or not. I met my wife through Twitter.
I
And
see.
she had this photo that she took when she turned 40. And my wife is a very beautiful woman. She's Argentinian. She has, she's beautiful skin, looks young. And even though I wasn't talking to her at that time and we had only connected a few times, hey, I like your music. I'm from California. Nothing really. When I was going through my battles with alcoholism, because that's another thing, when I started having these mental health issues, I turned to alcohol. That was another way to
Escape.
self-medicate. And when I'd be by myself, I'd look at that profile photo of her and it gave me hope. It
Mm,
gave me hope. Like, wow, there's a woman that looks as beautiful as this from another country that just thinks I'm amazing.
mm,
It gave me hope. And I printed that profile photo and I have it in my house. I have it in my bedroom. And sometimes it falls down. It's not in a frame. It's just standing by the TV. It's an 8 by 10. But when I look at that photo, I remember my why. I
yes.
look at
I love that.
that was my why. That was my why back in 2015 and 2016 when I was struggling. And then eventually ended up, and then of all things, I end up marrying this woman.
Okay.
Like that was the right woman that God wanted me to marry, and just that photo. So I have that photo, and every day when I'm in the morning or in the evening, I'll always look at that photo, and it's like, that was why you did it. Remember, that was
Yes.
why you fought. Was that beautiful woman, that angel from Argentina, and that's my why. My wife is. I mean, I have a son. I have a 14-year-old son, and I mean, but those are my whys. My niece, my
Yes.
nephew. Like, why to keep going? Why to get up and go to work? Why to be responsible? Why to be loving? Why to be compassionate? Why to be a great husband or a great uncle and a great father? Um, because if you don't have
Yes.
no why, if your why is because you want to get a million likes on Instagram, you got to reevaluate that. Your
Exactly. That's
why's got to,
important. Mm-hmm.
and when your
And you see,
whys are
it's so
strong,
interesting. Uh-huh.
you'll never give up.
Exactly. Yes. So it's interesting because we started our real talk with a marriage and we ended up with love again. So to sum
Yeah,
up this real talk with Dylan Garcia, I would say the following: love will save the world, and the power of why is very important. And yeah, and the alignment with your inner self and with God who always guides you. And I would also sum up like to people based on your story, like you are exactly where you need to be. And even when you have those slow moments, it doesn't mean that you're broken and something is wrong with you. No, you are exactly where you need to be, and it's all God's plan. Wow, Dylan, what a story, what a real talk. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Honestly, you inspired me. You gave me lots of food for my brain to marinate, to think about. And yeah, I'm extremely grateful to you. And what I wish to you is lots of love. You don't have to remember you are because you know your wife. I see it, I feel it, like you know your why, like why am I doing it? Why am I here on this planet Earth? So thank you so much for serving your mission, and thank you so much for your beautiful music. I wish you prosperity and whatever, like whatever you want, like whatever you envision in your mind, I wish you to accomplish in this physical world. Thank you, Dylan.
thank you.
Thank you so much. If you have a different sum up, please go ahead and share.
I would just say, you know, if there's something you want bad enough,
Mhm.
and like say you want to have a great marriage, we'll go back to marriage, or you want to have a great friendship, everything takes investing time. Now, you can't expect to have a great marriage if you're out every night with your friends. You can't imagine to have a great work ethic if you're showing up late all the time. You can't have you can't be responsible if you're not being responsible. And these are all choices we have every day as adults. Um, and what we talk about, choices. You have the choice. Do you have a choice to go left or right, good or bad? You know, but what it comes down to, even though you have those choices, which is plural, you got to make a decision, and you got to make the right one. Because if not, you're just going to keep living this cycle. God always gives us chances to get out of our cycle. He always does. We just got to be paying attention. But you got to make that decision, you know, that you just got to make that decision that you're going to do the right thing. I have a in my studio, it says, doing the right thing is never the wrong thing.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah,
I would also add to that, like doing the right thing, it like whatever aligns with your life values, not what society is trying to say as what is right and what is wrong. Like whatever like aligns with your life vision and life values. Dylan, I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I know. I
But
know. I know.
we
Me
have to,
too. Me too. I feel the
yes,
connection.
love
I
the
feel this
connection.
connection. Yeah.
Yes, love how our souls dance beautifully together today. One more time. Thank you so much for your wisdom and thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Eugenia.
I will attach all the links to this video and thank you so much for being with us. Bye.